This course is presented to you free of charge by TTJ Tech Services of www.ttjtech.biz and by Stir It Up of www.stiritup.com. And remember, stir is spelled with a U, not an I, so that's STURITUP.com. TTJ Tech Services and Stir It Up are pleased to offer this course to you to the glory of God and to the benefit of all those who listen. Well, praise God, glory to God, and welcome to iPad for All Computing. We are going to be delving in today a little bit to the Messages app. Once again, we'll do a screen share, and we will talk about using messages. Now, we already talked about using mail to send and receive email messages, but now we're going to be talking about using the Messages app to send and receive other kinds of messages, which we often colloquially just refer to as text messages. Now, you probably are familiar with how to do this on your iPhone. It's not incredibly different on the iPad, but there is a bit of a difference in the app layout. And because, of course, it's designed for the iPad. And then we're going to actually talk about some features that you might or might not know about. On Wednesday, we're going to begin looking at Safari. We're very excited to talk extensively about web browsing. I'd like to begin by talking about the kinds of messages that we can send and receive in the Messages app, because it's important to understand the distinction. And if you are sighted, or you have sighted family or friends or coworkers who are maybe using their own device or looking at yours, sometimes when you're sending a message, they'll see green bubbles and a green send arrow, while other times they'll see blue colored bubbles and a blue send arrow. And there was, well, what's the difference? Why is it sometimes that it's blue and sometimes it's green? And so I want to define that for you today, because it also is going to impact some of the feature availability when we're talking about different things you can do in the Messages app. So I want you to understand that when we talk about all of the many features that are available to the users of the Messages app, not all features will be available in every message conversation. Sometimes you will only have a select few of those features, and that's because it depends on the kind of message you are sending. Blue bubbles indicate iMessage. Green bubbles indicate non-iMessage, or what we would call either SMS or MMS, but I'm going to define that in a second. So let's start with iMessage, because that's where most of the features, or really all of the features, are available. That's the most exciting, and really it's the best way to do it if you have the choice, of course. And that is, iMessage is Apple to Apple. That's the simplest way to define that. It can be a little bit more convoluted at times, but in general, iMessage, or the blue colored bubbles, that's Apple to Apple. You're sending to another user who also has either an iPad, an iPhone, a Mac, or even their Apple Watch, right? Even their HomePod, they could be sending a message from, or, listening to the message you sent. But the gist of it is, it's got to be an Apple device. Now, I said a moment ago that it's a little bit more convoluted, and that's only because on some occasions, if, for example, someone has chosen to disable cellular data, then their messages will not send as iMessages. They will send as regular SMS messages, because those don't use cellular data. They use your texting plan. If you remember the days, I don't know of any carriers who do this anymore, but if you remember the days back when they used to say, you'd have, you could send 200 or receive 200 text messages in your plan. That's what it included. And then if you wanted to do more than that, it was like, 5 cents a message or 25 cents per picture message or whatever. So that, that was that there's a separate allotment for texting, quote unquote, although now it's usually unlimited. But iMessage uses cellular data unless you are on Wi-Fi. If you're on Wi-Fi, it's going to use Wi-Fi, but it uses the internet. So if someone has disabled their cellular data and they're not on Wi-Fi, then even if they are an Apple user, it will send as SMS And that's why I say occasionally it's a little bit more convoluted. Or I suppose someone could just choose to turn off iMessage, although I really cannot imagine why anybody would. So we're just going to keep it simple, and we're going to say iMessage is Apple user to Apple user. The green bubbles then are when you are sending to a non-Apple user, somebody that's got an Android or something. And there are two kinds of messages there, SMS and MMS. And basically, SMS is just text. MMS is what we used to call picture messages. Those are multimedia messages. They can include pictures, videos, and also group messages. Now, there is talk, there is rumor. As you know, Apple's pretty tight-lipped about this stuff, but there is a rumor floating around, and it's a pretty solid rumor that in iOS and iPadOS 18, which we can assume will be released later on this year, Apple will be supporting a new message standard for the non-Apple users. Okay, it's not going to affect iMessage, but it's for the non-Apple users. They're going to be supporting something new called RCS, and it is going to bring many, though not all, of the iMessage features to the non-Apple users. There are already some carriers that support RCS, and more will, I think. And there's other devices that use RCS, so they've been, kind of wanting Apple to do that. And the rumor is they're going to. Again, that's not been confirmed by Apple, so this is not an official announcement or anything, but just, so you understand that's in the works. All right. So we could have a very different conversation next year when we teach messages, possibly. But right now, this is the way it is as it stands now. Green colored bubbles means non-Apple users, SMS or MMS. And I'm not going to go step by step through each of the features with you and how they differ. What I can tell you in general is that if you're sending to a non-Apple user, always assume that a feature is not going to be available unless you find out otherwise, right? So we know that you can't send and receive money. You can't send and receive the same kinds of effects, and the files you send are limited to pictures and videos, but they're also smaller file size limits. You have character limits within the messages that you type, even within the text. A lot of these features of iMessage that we're going to cover are just not available with the non-Apple users, okay? But also, when you are sending and receiving to one Apple user or all Apple users, we're going to show you there's a tremendous amount of features that are available, and we really are excited to show you some of those today. Now, therefore, I'm not always going to specify. I'll try to remember, but it can get very, very choppy and lose its flow if every time I'm describing something I say, well, this is not available to the SMS and MM. So I'm not going to probably do that every time. But a lot of the features we're going to cover are specific to iMessage users. All right, so we're going to take a look at the Messages app today. It is another one of the apps that uses a split screen design, where on the left-hand side of the iPad, you have your list of conversations. Now, we're going to define a conversation. Some people call those messages, right? But when you first open the Messages app, if you've already been using it in any way, you are going to have a list of the messages that you have sent or received. But those messages are going to appear in conversations. In other words, they're threaded to keep all of the back and forth within the same conversation if it's with the same person. So in other words, if I send a message to my son, my daughter, my wife, my mom, my dad, any of the, whatever, I have a conversation for each of them, and it has all the messages back and forth. I send them a message, hello. They send me a message back, hi. I send them another message, how are you doing? They send me a message, I'm doing well. These are all in the same conversation, just like on your iPhone, because they're with the same person. So we are going to define a conversation as the messages between a single person, or, well, between two people, you and another person, or between you and a group. We can have a group conversation, okay? But we're talking about the overall, not just an individual message. So we're going to say that an individual message is just one message within a conversation, okay? And that's always a good way to define it. It's always the way to something to keep in mind no matter what device you're using. That's true on iPhone. It's true on Mac. So the conversation is the thread back and forth. And as you may know, conversations will stay on your device indefinitely. You do not lose them. They do not go away unless you go into settings and you choose the message history option, and you can say you can delete it after a year, or keep it for only a year, or whatever. You can choose options for that if you don't want the conversations to stay. But if you just leave it as the default, they never get deleted. They're just always kept unless you manually delete them. And anybody that you talk to regularly, I just feel like, keep the conversation. It's not going to take up a ton of space unless you're sending and receiving a lot of pictures or videos or something back and forth. Then conversations can begin to take up space, and you can deal with that accordingly. But, I keep the same conversations and just keep adding on and just keep using them. So the conversations, as I said, they stay. And let's see what else I want to tell you about that. I guess that's it. We'll start taking a look here and explain other things as we go. The only other thing I would say is that Messages does use iCloud if you allow it. So in your settings under your name and then under iCloud, you can turn on iCloud syncing for Messages. And this is I think a very good thing because it allows all of your devices to have, now they'll all get the same messages anyway, as long as they're signed in with the same Apple ID. But this will allow it to work so that if you read a message on one device, that message will be marked as read on all of your devices. If you delete a message on one device, that message will be deleted from all devices. It's again, just a way of keeping everything really in sync across all of your devices. And that works on iPhone, it works on iPad, and of course, HomePod and the Macintosh. And then I think the Apple Watch, I can't remember now. I have my watch on. I'd have to look. I rarely delete messages. There for a while, they did not. You'd have to delete them manually, but I haven't checked recently. Let's now jump over. Let's put our hand on the left side of the iPad screen, and we're going to look at the very top left.
Edit button. Edit button.
There's an edit button, and that edit button is going to allow us to do things like show recently deleted items and a bunch of other things, and I'll actually show that to you in a little bit. If you want to compose a new message, of course, you're going to swipe right a couple of times.
Messages. Compose button.
And you'll double tap that button. For our non-voiceover users, I do believe that icon looks like a square with a sort of a pencil in it, and that's where you can tap to compose. And I would also say for both our non-voiceover and our voiceover users that if you have an existing conversation already here, on the left side, you don't really have to compose a new message. You can just tap on that existing conversation to continue talking to that person. Because if you compose a new message to that person, it's going to go in that conversation anyway. So the only time you really need to hit compose is if either you've deleted or don't have a conversation with somebody, it's a brand new conversation, or possibly it's way down in your list and you don't want to have to search for it, so you just hit compose and it's a little easier. Let me show you what does happen if we hit compose.
2. Text field is editing. Character mode. Insertion point at start.
Now, we are in the to field. This is where we would type the name of the person who we want to send a message to. And I do believe we've talked already about proper contact cards and how important it is to have proper contacts. Remember, first, last name, company name optional, but if there is one and you know it, that's a good thing. At least one valid phone number with the type specified: iPhone, mobile, home, main, school, work, whatever it is. More if you want, but at least one email address if you know it with the proper type, and then everything else is optional. You can, physical address and web address and social profiles and their birthday. Remember, birthdays go in the contact card, not in the calendar, because when you put them in the contact card, there is a special birthdays calendar that they will appear on automatically. But definitely remember, one contact per person. So a good contact, let's suppose your mother's name is Jane Smith and your dad's name is John Smith. All right, a proper way to do this is one contact card for Jane Smith, one contact card for John Smith, even if some of their information is going to overlap because they live at the same address and so on. here's a bad, no, I shouldn't say bad, but here's an improper contact card, not the way to do it. One combined, like John and Jane in the first name field, to try to make a shared, don't do that. It makes things very complex when you're trying to use your device and so on. And here's another example of a not good, a not proper contact card. Mom and dad, don't do that. If you want to specify that Jane Smith is your mom and that John Smith is your dad, there is a related names field that you can use to do so. Or you could even put it in the nickname. Now, I prefer to do the related names field because that's the most thorough way. And I can then ask, and I can't do it on the device that I'm on, of course, because the audio causes a conflict, so we can't use SIRI. But I'm going to demonstrate SIRI sometimes for you with the iPad. And right now, I'll just pick up another device that I happen to have near me to show you that when my contacts are set up properly, I can ask her something like, when is my son's birthday?
Carson Valbrecht's birthday is 18 days away, on March 29th.
And that is correct. All right, praise God, we're excited, we're looking forward to that. But anyway, and so, basically, that works because I put the fact that he's my son in the, the related names. We can do that. You can also use the nickname field to give them a nickname, and you can even put, like, my daughter likes to put, like, mom, dad, whatever in the nickname field, too. There's nothing wrong with that. But it won't necessarily work for what I just demonstrated then if you do that. But when you have all this proper contact information, it allows you to say things like, call my wife, or take me home, and you'll get directions right to your home, without it having to question that stuff. So it's very important we have our contact cards set up properly. And, I wanted to just give you a refresher on that. I don't even know for sure that we did it in this course, but we definitely have done it in our iPhone voiceover in and out course. So for those of you who are hearing this for the first time, let me just review it once again. Make sure that you have a proper contact card for everybody in your contacts, including yourself, by the way. And that's really important. So if you create a contact card for yourself, if there's not already one there, you can then go into Settings and go into Siri and Search and scroll down to My Info. And you can pick your name so it knows who you are. That's a very good thing to do. And then again, a proper contact card for everybody else as well. And a proper contact card means one contact card per person. Never share them. I don't mean don't share them with other people, but I mean, in other words, don't try to make one contact card for two people, mom and dad. Don't do that. One contact card per person with a proper first name, proper last name, at least one valid phone number, at least one valid email address if you know it, and whatever else you want to fill in. There's lots and lots more you can do. Middle name, nickname, as I said, birthday. Birthdays go in the contact card, not in the calendar. And I actually just got a message, so speaking of using the Messages app, that'll be a good chance to demonstrate that for you in a moment. But anyhow, that's how to do a proper contact card. Make sure that they're done. And once they are, then you'll be able to use your Messages app more easily and use Siri more easily and all those things. Now, I just received a message, so instead of composing a new one, I'm going to cancel out of this and respond to that.
Cancel button. Edit. Convert. 8. Fred. Edward Valbrecht. Unread. We are home now. 2:56 p.m.
And that was my dad. They like to let me know when they're going to be going out because their dogs are alone and so on, and they were just telling me they're back home. So I'm going to go ahead and tap, or in my case, double tap on that conversation. And I'm going to respond to it.
Edward Valbrecht. We are home now. Vertical scroll bar. Apps. Button. Message. iMessage. Text field. Message.
We'll look at all those things, but I tapped in there. And we're going to say, okay.
Cap I. Capital K. Space. Capital V. Space. Y. A.
Alright, I just put, okay, love ya.
Message. Text field. Is editing. Okay. Love ya. Character mode. Send. Button.
If we can,
send using iMessage. Double tap and hold to add effect.
And we're going to cover all that, those effects, and also you heard that VoiceOver said it's going to use iMessage. If we can see, we see a blue colored upward pointing arrow. So I'm going to go ahead and double tap that, and it's going to send.
Send message. Dictate dimmed button.
Because, and the reason dictate is dimmed is, of course, because we're on a Zoom call. Because this is an iMessage, I can swipe over here.
Edward, your iMessage delivered. Heading level 3.
It tells me that it's been delivered. If you have read receipts turned on, it will tell me when he read the message. I can't remember if he does, but it will do that if you have that turned on. Or if the recipient has that turned on, I should say. There's also typing indicators within iMessage conversations, so you know if the other person is replying, So that's how easy it is to send a message in an existing conversation, to read. And if I keep swiping left, I can go back to previous things that my dad and I said to each other, and I can read those, okay? But if I swipe to the right, I get to the edit field and all that. Now, again, if I don't have a conversation in the list, I can compose one.
Edit message compose to text field
and
is editing.
Now, this is where we were before, and I was going to explain to you. There is,
add contact button.
Just to the right of the edit field, there is a plus symbol there. And it says add contact if you're a voiceover user. And that allows me to see my whole list of contact cards and pick one to whom I wish to send a message. But I actually prefer to do it a little differently. I prefer to go back to the edit field.
To text field is editing. Character mode. Insertion point at start.
And what I like to do is to just type the first few letters of the name of the person I want to send a message to. So, for example, if I want to send a message to Trainer Cliff, I'll start typing his name. I already have an existing conversation with him, so I really wouldn't need to do that. It's just going to append to that anyway, but I will just go ahead and do it to demonstrate. And so...
K-I.
Now, up above...
Message received from Clifton.
Okay, I'm receiving messages from him, and I paused the speech there, so I don't even know what he said. But I will show you how this is going to work. Up above the keyboard on the screen... On the right-hand side, above the on-screen keyboard, I'm going to find a list of results. And those results continue to change the more letters I type, right? If I had just typed a K, I have other people whose first or last names have Ks in them. So I'd want to keep typing to narrow that down. But now look up here.
Results. Add contact. Results. Clifton Antonio Miller Sr. Cliff at Stir. More with the Mac discussion. More with the Clifton Antonio. More Clifton.
And I've got different groups that he's in and other people. So I just simply double tap on the one I want. Or, non-voiceover users, you just tap on it.
To text field is editing. Clifton Antonio Miller.
Now, you also heard it say that I'm still in that to field. If I want to add more people and create a group, I just repeat those steps. I just start typing again. Maybe I also want to add Sarah in here, so I can include Sarah by, typing S-A.
S-A.
And let's see if that's enough.
Sarah Potok.
Yep.
Messages. Click results. Sarah Potok. Messages.
So,
results.
I've double tapped on it now.
To text field. Clifton Antonio. Sarah Potok. Add contact button.
And I can also use that plus symbol still. But I've got a group now with Cliff and Sarah, and I can just go over here.
Message. iMessage. Text field. Double tap insertion point at end.
And I can type hi, folks.
Cap G. Cap I space F-O-M-S. Message. Text field is editing. Hi, folks.
And?
Send button. Send messages.
There it is. I've sent it. Now, I'm going to use another device to read the message from Cliff just in case it was not meant for public consumption. You never know. So, we'll just do that. Let's see. Okay, I actually could let you hear that one. So, what I can do here, we go over here.
Conversation.
And
Carson pinned.
Okay, we'll get to the pins in a second, but let's go over here.
Fred selected. Class test. Hi, folks. 3.
Now, interestingly, that says class test. It doesn't say Cliff and Sarah. Why is that? Well, you know why that is? It's because when you use iMessage, you can name your conversations, and apparently I've done this same demo, or something very similar to it, in a previous class, and I went ahead and named the conversation. This is really useful, but it only works if you have all Apple users, and what you can do is you can name it, so...
Message received from Clifton. Test successful. Selected. Class test. Test successful. 3:03 p.m.
Now that one came from Cliff, but it was in the group, okay? So when you create a group, you can... So I mentioned to you before that if I were going to send a message to Cliff, it would automatically append to the same conversation, and that's because I've already been talking to him. The exception to that is if I use a different contact method for him, like a phone number one time and an email address another time. When he sends it to me, it will come from it'll be in like two different conversations. With groups, you can also create multiple conversations with the same group of people, and you can name them. And so you might have summer vacation planning group, and you might have a work group, or a birthday party group, or retirement dinner group, whatever. You can name them, and I'll show you how to do that. I've already done it with this class test, but
message received from Sarah. Hello back.
And now what I'm going to do,
apps button.
I'm going to demonstrate a couple things very quickly here. First thing I'd like to demonstrate for you is a tapback. If you are not a VoiceOver user, you access the tapbacks simply by doing a long press. You remember a long press, it's tap and hold, on the message that you received. This is on any message within an existing conversation, not the conversation itself. But in other words, on the right-hand side of the iPad, you find a particular message that you received, such as this one.
Messages. Sarah Potok, hello back.
And you long press on it. With VoiceOver, I can also use the rotor.
React.
And I can simply say react and double tap. And I'm going to get this list of
heart button, thumbs up button, thumbs down button.
So I can love it with a heart. I can like it with a thumbs up. I can do a thumbs down, a laugh, an exclamation, and a question.
Question mark.
And
message. Thumbs down.
Let's give her a thumbs up.
Thumbs up button selected. Message. Text.
Now if I look here,
clips. Sarah Potok. Hello back. You liked this. 3:04 p.m.
All right. Now just so that
actions available.
Just so that Cliff doesn't feel left out, we'll go over here.
Cliff, test successful, react.
Do the same thing for him.
Thumbs up, selected, message, tech.
Okay, so we've given tapbacks, they call those, to both Cliff and Sarah. Now, I also want to show you a couple of other things that are really cool. One of the things we can do is, and again, I told you can name the conversations. I'm going to show you that in a little bit. Not quite yet, but here in a few minutes. Another thing we can do is we can send
full screen effect. Multicolored balloons float up from below. Cliff, happy birthday.
Now,
message, text
see,
field.
he tries to beat me to it, because that's exactly what I was going to tell you, is that you can send special effects. Now, there are two ways to send special effects. The one way is what I assume he did, which is that certain phrases, like happy birthday, congratulations, and several others will...
Full screen effect. Fireworks burst and fade over a black backdrop. Cliff, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's another one. And they'll trigger these automatic special effects. The key thing is you just have to type them exactly that way. You can't have other text in there. So if I type a message back, let's type,
Capo.
let's see.
K-O-N-G-R-N-T-U-N-T ions.
Okay. Says
space. Congratulations. Space.
Now when I...
Message. Send. Button. Send. Full screen effect. Multicolored confetti cascades from above. Your iMessage. Congratulations.
So,
dim. Button.
You can use the auto effects by just typing certain phrases. And there are others. Pew pew.
Message received.
That's one of them.
Sarah liked happy birthday.
Now see, she did a tap back, okay? And so happy birthday, happy new year, congratulations, pew pew, which does lasers. There's like, you can say like happy Chinese New Year. There's other, things like that. There's also a way to manually
message received.
Do your effects.
Clifton pew pew.
All right, so I think Cliff, I don't know what happened with his, because that didn't do it. Maybe it was a spelling issue. I don't know.
Message received from Clifton. Darn spell check.
Yep, that's what happened. Spell check. So we'll...
App messages. Cliff. Darn spell check. React. Heart. Thumbs. Ha-ha. Button. Selected. Message. Tech. Cap. App message. Cliff. Pupil. Cliff. Darn spell check. You laughed at this. 3:07 p.m.
All right, so you get the idea here. If we want to manually trigger these too, what we do is long press the send icon, that upwards pointing arrow, or VoiceOver just calls it send. And so if I type something,
capped H-I-I space I space U-N exclamation message text field is editing. This is fun. Character mode.
Now, instead of just tapping or double tapping send,
Send button.
we're going to long press.
Send using iMessage. Double tap and hold to add effect.
And what we get
Undo
is
button. Selected. Bubble button.
we have
One of two.
two choices, bubble effects and screen effects. Bubble effects are things like loud, gentle, slam, invisible ink. Loud, when it comes in, it like rattles like an alarm clock. Invisible ink, you actually have to like wipe it away to be able to read the text. And then you have, so to find those, by the way, you just swipe to the right.
Screen button. Slam button. Loud. Gentle. Invisible ink. Close button.
Or you can close it without doing it. But I'm going to choose screen.
In jet lap. Slam. Screen button. 2 of 2.
Now, once I do that, these are going to be set up in pages where you have to scroll left and scroll right with 3 fingers as a voiceover user, actually, 1 finger as a non-voiceover user, to choose the effect. So,
Selected. Send with effect.
now,
Bubble button. Selected. Screen button. Echo. Copies of the message bubble echo across the screen, expanding and shrinking as they rise and swirl, then disappear.
and if I go to the right, there's also a page selector,
Send with echo button. Close button. Page 1 of 8. Echo. Adjustable.
because there are 8 different
Swipe up or down with 1 finger
screen
to
effects.
close.
I'm just going to go ahead and use this one.
Send
but-
with echo. Echo. Copies of the message bubble echo.
Notice if I do a 3-finger swipe left,
Page 2 of 8. Spotlight. Spotlight. The conversation darkens. Then a bright spotlight of white light illuminates your message as particles of dust float through the light.
all right, but we're going to just go back here.
Page 1 of 8.
And
Echo.
use echo.
Send with echo. Send. Full screen effect. Copies of the message bubble echo across the screen, expanding and shrinking as they rise and swirl, then disappear. Your iMessage. This is fun. Return.
All right, so that's how easy it is to send special effects with your messages. Now, another feature that I'd like to talk to you about is what happens if you make a mistake. Have you ever sent a message and then only after you send it do you realize you said something incorrect, or you type, a typo, or any one of a number of things, or maybe you actually sent the message to the wrong person altogether? Well, as long as both of you are Apple users running the latest software, I think it's at least got to be version 16 if I'm not mistaken, you can both unsend your messages and you can edit a message you've already sent. Now, there are some conditions. I've already told you 2 of them. One is they both have to be Apple users. The other is you both have to be on fairly recent versions of iOS, iPadOS, macOS, what have you. And then finally, there are time limits for both. So if you want to completely unsend the message, or as Apple calls it, undo send, you will have only 2 minutes from the time that you have sent the message in which to do so, to unsend it. Now, the editing, it's a little bit more flexible. You can, according to the documentation, you can edit a message that you have sent up to a maximum of 5 times within a 10-minute time period. So you actually have a good bit of flexibility here on that one. So, once you send a message, if you discover that it needs to be edited or unsent, you simply find that particular message within a conversation, so right-hand side of the iPad, not the list of conversations, but the messages within one, and you long press it, and when you long press it, you're going to have the option to undo send, as long as it's within those 2 minutes, and you will also have the option to edit what you have already sent. So let's say I'm composing a message to this group, and I make a mistake, and I say something like,
Return. Cap A I space space. Return period space A space G O space. Good. I cap A E space C L A S period class.
now listen to what I've typed here.
Id. Message. Text field is editing. This is a good iPhone class. Character mode. Insertion point at end.
Now, of course, this is not an
iPhone. To access
We'll pause that. Of course, this is not an iPhone class. This is an iPad class. But let's pretend I didn't realize that, and I send this message just that way, and I finally realize it afterwards. So we're going to send it.
Send. Send message. Dictate.
I'm going to go back.
Arrow counterclockwise. Your iMessage. This is a good iPhone class.
Whoops.
3:13 p.m.
That's wrong. So,
Actions available.
let's long press this message.
App search. Messages. Your apps. Messages.
Okay.
Your
Let's long
iMessage.
press.
This is a good iPhone app conversation.
Move my hands to.
Your iMessage. Apps. Message. App converse.
Okay.
Message. Your iMessage.
Here we go.
This is a good iPhone app. Heart. Reply.
We can reply.
Question mark.
We have these same tap backs. But look over here now.
Reply. Add sticker. Button. Undo send. Button.
Undo send.
Edit. Button.
Edit. That's what I want to do, because I don't want to undo this completely.
Text field. Oh.
Now let's look at our edit field.
Messages. Message. iMessage. Message. Text field is editing. This is a good iPhone class. Character mode. React. Return. Here. Space. Delete. E. N. O. H.
And we'll just put.
A. D.
So now let's just say iPad.
Message. iMessage. Messages. Message. iMessage. Messages. Message.
And it's
messages,
not
iPads.
the regular iMessage field.
Paste. Dictate. Message. Apps. Send edit. Button. Text field.
Further to the left, see?
This is a good iPad class. Character
And then we'll
mode.
hit
Send edit. Button.
Send edit.
Picture in picture.
Now, when we do that,
Cancel edit.
you can also cancel the edit.
Text field. Send edit. Message.
Okay.
Text.
Now let's look back here.
Your iMessage. This is a good iPad class. 3:13 p.m. Actions available.
Now you heard,
Edited button.
just to the right of that there's a button that says edited. That tells me that I've made a change to it, that I've edited it. Again, I can do it 4 more times within 10 minutes. But that's how easy it is to edit a message that you have already sent. You saw that the undo option was also there, undo send, which completely unsends the message, and the other person sees that you've unsent it, but they cannot see what you said. And after that, you'd have to just send a new message if you wanted to. But again, this is done by long pressing the message that you are concerned about, and it brings up that list of options. And that's
received from Sarah. Sarah loved. This is a good iPad class.
And see, she did a tap back there. What we have is we've shown you a number of features here that pertain to how to work with your messages. One other question that people probably want to know right away about is, well, how do I send pictures? How do I send videos? You know, and some of that can be done from within what's known as a share sheet or a share menu. Most apps have share sheets. Photos certainly does. Pages does, Notes does. A lot of apps have share sheets or share menus that allow you to share using different apps like Messages, and we'll talk more about share sheets when we get into some apps that have them. But you can also send some things directly from within the Messages app, and you can not only do sending of photos and videos, but you can send stickers. You can even send money, like actual real money. I mean, it's digital, but using Apple Cash, part of the Apple Pay features. You can do a lot of different things. Even some third-party apps will have different iMessage features in them. And you access all these by tapping on the little plus sign that is near the conversation edit field, the message edit box. And for voiceover users, it actually says apps.
Message received from Clifton. Clifton emphasized this is fun.
Okay, now let's. That was a response from Clip. Let's go over here.
Your iMessage edited. Apps button.
And there's the apps button. Now, if I tap on this button, it's going to bring up the apps that I've described to you and a few others.
Camera.
First, we have
tap and hold, then drag to reorder menu items. Actions available.
Okay, so you can also reorder the way that these appear. Go back here.
Picture-in-picture display.
And
message.
Show you these
Monday, March
other ones.
Red bullet edit.
So,
March 6th. March 16th. Your name is Cliff. Message.
Okay.
Apps button. Camera.
So the camera.
Double tap.
Now the camera, of course, allows us, as its name suggests, to take a picture, take a video right now, and immediately send it with the conversation. It becomes part of the, it attaches to the conversation. The next option you'll see is Photos. And
double tap and hold, then drag.
The difference there is that the Photos app within Messages will give you access to your existing photo library, which we're going to learn about later. Your photos and videos that you've already taken. Camera lets you take one now. Then we have stickers. They're a lot of fun.
Tap and hold, then drag to reorder menu items.
Okay.
Actions available.
They're cool because you can put all sorts of stickers within your messages. And
Apple Cash.
There's how we
double tap.
Send and receive money.
Audio.
audio.
Double tap and hold.
I doubt
Drag to reorder menu items.
I doubt that works while we're on a Zoom call, but it will allow you to actually record your voice in a message. Different than dictation, right? Because dictation is speech to text. It actually types what you say. This actually sends a recording of your voice. And if you receive an audio message, by default, it stays on the device for 2 minutes after you've listened to it. Now, if you don't listen to it, then it's still there till you do. But once you do, it's set to expire after 2 minutes. I told you messages got saved indefinitely, and that is true. But audio messages, they expire by default after 2 minutes. And then if you want to change that setting, you can go into your settings and change that. Or when you are in a message, if you receive an audio message, you can actually hit the keep button, and it will keep it until you delete it. So you have both options. Once you've kept a message, you even have a third option. You can save it outside of the messages if you want to. And again, this applies to audio that was sent using this audio recording feature within messages.
Audio.
Okay, if you attach an audio file to a message, like a voice memo or something, then that's different. That will not expire. That comes in as a file attachment, but this is specific to audio recordings within messages.
Location.
Location.
Double tapping.
That's a relatively new one, and that's something that allows you to send your current location and do a check-in with somebody. A check-in is a feature of messages that, you could, for example, you're visiting someone and then you're heading home, and so when you leave their house, you check in with them, and then it will let them know your location and when you get home, and it's a nice safety feature that they've added to messages.
More.
And then there's more.
Double tap and hold.
So more is what will allow us to access a lot of other iMessage apps, because as I said, there are many that get installed when you install other apps and so forth as well. So those are the most common ones probably.
Store.
And there's even the store.
Double tap hashtag images.
And we can see
Bible. Digital touch. Fandango. Music. Open table.
all these different options,
Double
right?
tap and hold.
So we'll go back to the left.
Hashtag store. More.
So I don't even think that's a button.
Double
It's
tap and hold.
just
And drag.
an icon there. But all these different options, you can do all these really cool things within messages. And, maybe we'll try one here. Let's see.
Locate audio. Apple Cash. Stickers.
I haven't done
Double
stickers
tap and
in
hold.
a while.
Stickers.
All right, I double tapped on that. Let's see what happens.
Face with stuck out tongue emoji. Sticker. Actions available. Sticker.
Some of them tell you what they are.
Edit. Wikipedia stickers. Hearts. Taco Bell. Hands.
Oh, Taco Bell.
Taco Bell.
I know I had stickers from Taco Bell.
Selected. Wikipedia. Edit. That's logo.gif. Accessibility label. Double tap to insert into current message. Double tap and drag to attach to message in current conversation. Swipe up or down to select a custom action, then double tap to activate. An illustration of a yellow smiley face next to an illustration of a guitar. It's been a blast.gif. Accessibility label. Double tap to insert into current message.
You get a nice hint there, but I'm waiting for I like the image description. Helps you to know what the sticker is.
Then double tap to activate a screenshot of a video game with icons and text. LCRUNCHO.gif.
Okay, it's been a blast. That's probably the Baja Blast reference.
A screenshot
So
of
if
a
we
video
just
game
double
with
tap,
icons and text. It's been a blast.gif. Accessible. It's been a.
now it should be
That's edit button.
in the message
Wikipedia
because it
edit.
said
Party packs. Tacos every. Cheers to taco. Down for taco. Taco. Dancing sauce. .gif. Accessibility. Dancing sauce. .gif.
said I should be able to double tap to insert it into the message, but I don't know if it
That's edit. Wikipedia
went in there or not.
Recent button.
All right,
Live stickers button.
there's live stickers too.
Live stickers button.
So let me see.
LCRUNCHO.gif. And that's looked at Wikipedia stickers.
And then this is my main list of stickers again, right? We have all of those. Again, we can pick a different one, but I'm not sure this actually got inserted yet. That's the thing.
Dancing taco here. .gif. Accessibility label. Double tap to insert into current message. Double tap and drag to attach the message in current conversation. Dancing. Talk.
Okay. Well, I don't know if it got inserted or not.
Saw picture in picture.
Because it's not really
Taco. Taco.
telling me.
Look
Maybe
at it. Wikipedia.
if I try, let's just see if I
Taco. Hands.
pick another one that's
Selected.
an Apple version.
Edit.
That makes
Fist
any
bump.
difference. There's a fist bump.
Fist bump. Alert. There is an item waiting to be sent.
Okay.
Would you like to replace it?
So it did get sent.
Replace.
Or it did get attached, and I can either replace it or cancel. So it did get
Fist bump.
attached.
Double tap to insert.
To the
Fist bump. An illustration of a
to the conversation already. So that is good. So that did work.
Thumbs. Hand.
Now I just have to look at
double fist bump. Double fist two. Double fist two. Double fist. Double
that's as
fist
far
bump.
to the right as we can go.
Recent button.
And that's as far to the left as we can go.
Selected. Picture in picture. Messages. Sticker. 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 Face with stuck out. Edit. Wikipedia. Hearts.
So now
Selected. Recent.
Now what I can do is swipe out of that
Notes. Note. Clock. Doc. Music. Messages.
and
Edited. Button. Stick message. Add comment or send.
I can add a comment if I want to.
Sticker. It's been a blast.gif. Accessibility label.
And there's the sticker that I attached. It didn't give me a confirmation. That's why I was sort of hesitant there. But it did indeed attach. And we knew that when I tried to insert another one. And I had the option to replace it, which I didn't do. So then I just swiped up to get out of it.
Remove app from message.
I can remove the sticker if I don't want to send it. But
Send. Button.
we're going to go ahead and send it.
Send message. Dictate. Dimmed. Button.
Here
Message.
it went.
App. Your iMessage. Sticker. It's been a blast.gif. Accessibility
And so
apps. Button.
that message has now been sent. So that was a demonstration of using an app. Again, you have camera, photos, check-in. Digital touch is fun because you can kind of draw right in the message, or you can do different finger combinations like I think a 2-finger. If you place 2 fingers on the device, it sends your heartbeat. And there are other ones. You can get instructions within the app card, like when you choose digital touch, then it will give you the option of reading the instructions. Apple Cash, of course, which allows us to send and receive money. Very convenient. Oftentimes, with family and
Message
friends.
received from Pat. HTTP.
Message there. I'll have to look at that later. Somebody sent me a link.
Selected.
And
Class.
I'll just
Pat.
open that up. And that was if you just double tap on a link, it usually will open. Let me show you quickly too how to get the additional info here and
Selected.
name the
Class test.
conversation. On the right side of the screen, near the very top, remember the quadrants, like the top left of the upper right quadrant?
Messages. Cliff. Heading level 2. Cliff. Heading. Your iMessage. Cliff. Click. Class test. Button.
You hit that button there. If I double tap, it's going to either say one of two things. It's going to say the name of the person you're messaging, or if it's group, it might say like 4 people in group or 3 people, whatever. In my case, it says the name of the group because we've already named it. But if you double tap on the icon for the person or the group,
Done. Button.
you have a done button, and then you have choices.
Conversation. Change name.
Wait.
Class test. Change name and photo. Button.
That's where you're going to add a photo, an emoji, a name. Again, this only works for all Apple. If you add even one non-iMessage user to this group, you're not going to have that ability.
Call. Button.
You can place a call. And what happens
Video. Button.
with an individual person is it, calls them or does a FaceTime. With a group, you can actually do a group FaceTime call. Very simple, very convenient way to start a group FaceTime. Not the only way to start one, but my favorite way, actually, because what I like to do is if I'm going to do a group FaceTime, I want to message the person first and say, hey, is it all right if we do a group chat in about 10 minutes on FaceTime? Yep, it's okay. They respond, And then what happens is I just hit that button and it starts the call. And I believe now, I don't even remember, I've looked it up a few times over the years. For the longest time, you could have up to 32 people in a group. I thought somebody said that was increased to 64. But either way, it's quite a large number, more than I've ever had in a group FaceTime. I've done a few, and it works very, very well. And we'll talk more about it, but it does work quite well. And then, anyway,
Mail. Button.
you can send email.
2 people. Cliff. Sarah. Share my location. Button. Show and shared with you. Switch button. On. Hide alerts. Switch button. Off.
We'll talk about some of that.
Leave this conversation. Advanced message security. Heading. Turn on contact verification. All iMessage converse. All
Not going to do that.
Hide
And then
alert. Show and share. Share my 2 people. Cliff. Sarah.
if I choose that, it's going to give me contact info for individual people because maybe I want to add them to my contacts or update contact info or something. So we can do that. I'm just going to go over here to
Change class. Done. Button.
done. And I want to tell you about a couple of those other options there. One of them I want to tell you about that you might not know what it means is where it says show in shared with you. When somebody sends you an Apple News article, a website, a TV show, different things that they might send you, it goes into shared with you, and that's accessible in whatever app you are using. So let's say that you have a conversation with somebody and they, over the past year, have sent you like 7 or 8 different web links. And you say, I know they sent me a link to that website, but I don't remember when. I don't know what the date was. I don't want to have to scroll back through this whole conversation. Well, instead, just open Safari and open a new tab, and you will see a shared with you section. And it will have everything that has been shared with you that pertains to Safari. So you don't have to spend time scrolling through your message conversation to say, when did they send me that link? It's a much more convenient way to do it. And the other thing that happens is, another one I want to talk about that you saw is hide alerts. That is also available if you long press on a conversation from the main list of conversations, and it's available in the rotor for our voiceover users. It is very useful if you're in a group, and you know how sometimes you might be in a group conversation and they become very chatty, right? And you are busy trying to do other things, and you got a dozen messages coming in every few minutes, and you say, I really don't have time to hear all these alerts right now. Well, you can hide alerts, okay, and it'll show like a little symbol indicating that they're muted. Then just remember to unmute them or show alerts again later if you want to hear them, because people say, well, I'm not getting your messages, and then they look and they say, oh, I did get them, but I didn't get notified. Well, it's maybe because you had hide alerts turned on, but it's convenient if and when you need to do that. And then, of course, with a group, you can actually leave the conversation entirely. You saw that option. If you were like if you were like a political analyst or a journalist, celebrity, you might be more concerned about the contact key verification. We don't really need to delve too deeply into that. These message conversations are already end-to-end encryption. In fact, if you're using 17.4, which you should be, the encryption has been improved even over what it previously was. So you don't really need to worry about the extra layer of contact key verification, probably. But you can certainly Google search it or consult the Apple user guides to learn more about it. Now, I just want to show you one other thing. If I go to an individual, well, a couple other things. If I go to an individual conversation here,
Selected. Cliff. Lowell.
there's my message conversation with just Cliff.
Selected. Cliff.
On the left-hand side, the message conversation is selected. It shows its contents on the right. But what I wanted to do is I want to go into the conversation details again.
Cliff. Button.
Show you that
Revert. Button. Clifton Antonio Miller Sr. Recent photo update from Cliff.
it's automatically sharing his name and photo with me.
Revert.
I can
button.
revert to the old one if I want.
Close. Button.
Not going to even mess with it.
Call. Button.
Call him.
Video. Mail. Info. Request location. Button.
Same things.
Share my location. Show and shared with you.
But
hide alert. Send red receipts. Share focus status. Switch button. On.
that means he knows if I'm in a do not disturb focus or something.
Share focus.
And then I want to go back
share
to
my
info.
Request info. Button.
Now,
Contact photo for Cliff. Edit.
there's
button.
contact photo.
Clifton and message.
This is
call,
all his info.
Pay. Contact iPhone. Face. iCloud. Home. LinkedIn. Notes. Text. Send message. Share contact. Share my location. Block caller. Link contacts. Contact photo for Clifton and message. Call.
So that's his contact info there. And that
Linked contacts.
we simply got by hitting info.
Clifton contact.
Let's
Add to linked contact. Block caller.
Go
Share
back
my
here.
Share contact. Back. Edit. Back.
Hit back. And then
conversation details. Clifton and Tony revert.
See if there's anything else.
All iMessage conversation from Matthew Grace from
Okay, down at the bottom here.
from Matthew Grace and rows 1 to 8 of 9. Content shared in this show and shared with you. Switch button on.
After these options here,
content shared.
remember, share my location, show and shared with you.
Content shared in this conversation will appear in selected apps.
Right.
Pins will always show.
But I want to keep going.
More. Link. Hide alerts. Switch. Send read receipts. Share focus status. Collaboration. Heading.
Collaboration. This is heading because we've worked on different projects together. And so let me go to the right now.
See all. Button. Hollywood trailer _tech. Audio recording. Photos. Heading.
So any documents or audio files or projects that we work on together will show up in that collaboration section. And if there's too many to fit in there, you have a see all button. Now we're in the photos section, so anything we've sent back and forth.
See all button. From Matthew Grayson Valbrecht. Photo button. Image. Actions available. A poster with text and an image of a cross on it. Faith Summit 2023. Who do you say I am?
Yep.
But as many as received him. To them say gave the right to become a children of
now
God.
that's a poster we did, and I sent that to him.
From Matthew Grayson Valbrecht. Photo.
There's another one.
From Matthew Grayson. From links. Heading.
Here are links that we've sent back and forth.
See all button. From Clifton Antonio Miller Sr. Paramount Plus sign in. From Clifton Antonio Miller Sr. Join our Cloud HD video meeting. From Matthew Grayson Valbrecht. Join our Cloud HD video.
So the point of all this is that once again, instead of having to scroll through an entire conversation's history to say, oh, I have no idea when he sent that, I can just go to this bottom section and I can look at the collaboration, the links we've sent, the photos, anything we've sent back and forth is here in a gallery sort of view, and then I can just hit
dismiss conversation.
Well, I can actually
dismiss
pop-up. That's just as easy as going back up to done. But that's how you do that then, and it saves you some time. Now, I also want to talk about the fact that when you're in a group message, I can reply to an individual message by long pressing on it. You heard it say reply earlier, if you remember that. When I long pressed on that message to edit what I made a mistake, there was a reply option. Anytime that somebody sends you, so you've been sitting there, you're in a group, Cliff sends me a message, Sarah sends me a message, Cliff sends me another message, and so on. And I want to, instead of having to do one of these sort of multi-reply things, like, let's say that I got a message from Cliff saying, what time is the meeting? And then Sarah responds by saying, are we using FaceTime or Zoom for the meeting? Now, I could just, in the edit field, I could say, the meeting is at 2, we will use FaceTime. Or I could go to the list of messages in that conversation. I could reply to Cliff and say, it's at 2. And then I could find Sarah's message and reply to her and say, we'll use FaceTime. You can also do a hashtag with the person's name to do what's known as a mention. And the benefit of the mentions is that even if they've got the alerts hidden, remember how we talked about hide alerts a few minutes ago if the conversation becomes very verbose? Well, even if they have the alerts muted, if you mention them by name like that, it will alert them that they have been mentioned. So that's mentions and that's replies. Now, the last thing before we go to the other instructors and the Q&A and all that is I want to talk about the message list again on the left-hand side, the conversation list. And I want to talk first about pins. So any conversation that you want to, you can long press on it for additional options. And for VoiceOver users, you also have a lot of these same options in the rotor. One of the options you will find is known as pin. Now, what pinning does is it allows you to keep your favorite and most important conversations near the top or at the top of the list of conversations at all times. Normally, it's chronological, with the top of the list being the most recent conversation that has received a message. But your pins will always be above that. So I have, like, my family members pinned, my wife, my kids, and I even have a family chat, which is a group with us and a few other people. So, like, if you go up here,
search, dictate conversations, Pat,
go back here,
Kylie, conversations, Kylie, pinned.
She
swipe up or down to select a custom.
She wanted to be first on the list, so she made herself first because you can actually reorder these pins. And then I have
Carson, family chat, Jessica,
my wife, my kids. They're all here in this list of pins. Now, you can pin up to 9 conversations, all right? And then if you need to, you can always unpin them, but you can pin up to 9 conversations, and when you do, they always stay at the top of the list of conversations. If you ever decide that you need to delete a conversation, of course, you can long press it and choose delete. You can use the rotor to delete, either way. And then if you make a mistake, you need to go into this edit button on the upper left, and you see
Matthew Volbrecht. Name and photo.
that's where you can share your name and photo or update your name and photo.
Select messages button.
Select messages if you want to multi-select a bunch of messages to delete or something.
Edit pins button.
Edit pins, that's where you can reorder the pins that you've put up there.
Show recently deleted button.
Show recently deleted. And then finally,
Dismiss context menu
dismiss.
button.
So if I've deleted something, I'm going to go into it.
Show recently deleted button.
If I haven't deleted it, that option won't even be there.
Recently deleted heading.
Now, you need to read this paragraph. It appears here, and really there's no better way I could possibly say it than what Apple has written here.
Done button. Conversations. Conversations show the days remaining before deletion. After that time, messages will be permanently deleted. This may take up to 40 days.
So they're going to stay in recently deleted for a period of time, and each one's going to have a number of days on it. You will not see the text of the message while it's in recently deleted. You'd have to recover it to do that. But
+1 320 Pat Kirkham Cliff. One message. 20 days.
20 days left. That's
Swipe up or down.
we used a different group, so I deleted that one. I had some contact info changes there to deal with. So there are some conversations in here.
Pat.
Any one of these or multiple ones, I can select it if I wish to by tapping on it to put a check in the circle. For VoiceOver, it's a double tap, of course, and I can select multiple ones here. And then at the very bottom of the screen,
Conversations toolbar. Recover all button. Delete all button. Conversation toolbar.
and because nothing is selected, it says recover all or delete all. But if I had 1 or 2 or 3 selected, it would just delete or recover the ones I have selected. And then if I don't want to be in this screen anymore,
Recently deleted heading. Done.
I just hit done,
Conversations selected.
and we're back on the
Cliff, 3 p.m.
list of conversations. So you can pin a conversation, of course you can delete it, you can do a lot of different things. And then I would just point out, some people want to know, what if I need to copy a message that's been sent to me and paste it somewhere else? And that's easy. Again, you can long press on an individual message within a conversation.
Cliff
So
Law,
here's the
3 p.m.
he just sent me LOL. Let's say I want to copy that. I can, in the rotor, I'll
Drag, more, translate, copy, reply, react, activate, default.
those are the options in the rotor. I'll long press because that's the way our sighted users would do it.
Reply, button, reply, question mark.
Those are those tap backs. Let's go to the right.
Reply, add sticker, copy, button, translate, more, button,
See,
dismiss context
lots of the
menu,
same options.
button.
More brings up a way you can delete individual messages within a conversation without having to delete the whole conversation. But we're going to just
Copy,
say
button,
copy.
messages.
So now it's
Cliff,
in
messages,
the
message,
clipboard, and I can
iMessage,
open up the
text
message edit field,
return.
and I can paste.
Use the rotor to
Again, I can paste using the rotor with the edit option, or I can just long press, which is, a triple tap, I think will also be for non-voiceover users. I think you could even just double tap, but let me...
New line. Cap out. Selected. Click. App. Send. Undo. Redo. Paste. Button. Cap I.
Oh, I don't even have to, because that's right.
Delete. New line.
That's right. There's a paste
Dictate.
on the iPad. I wasn't even thinking. Just to the right.
Undo. Redo. Paste. Button.
Paste is on the keyboard.
Lol.
And see, it pasted the LOL.
Message. Text field is editing. Lol.
It already pasted it in there. Paste is always on the keyboard of the iPad screen. I forgot about that on the on-screen keyboard. I didn't even have to long press. Now, yes, some of you voiceover users are saying, well, that's also in the rotor. Why didn't you just use edit in the rotor? Well, you could have, but I wanted to do something that would work for everybody, regardless of whether they were a voiceover user or not. So you can just find paste over there, and above the letters.
It looks like you can do more with messaging than you can in an email. What is the advantage between messaging Is that basically it? Is that the advantage?
Well, I think
That's not
they're
necessarily true because
yeah.
messages and mail do pretty much the same thing. The only difference is messages is instant. So if I say hi Matt, he can say what's up. I'll say what are you doing? He'll say nothing. I mean, we're getting them back and forth. In the email, you actually have to go back into the email and receive the message reply and hope the person checks it and whatever. But as for the features, you can do pretty much the same thing. I mean, you can't send effects in mail, but as it goes for the formatting and the different things that you can attach, I mean, you can send a PDF in a message, you can send an audio message if it's not too long, you can send a video clip if it's not too long, you can share links from different social platforms, and you can do the same thing in mail. You can actually attach a file directly from mail from your iCloud Drive, Dropbox, or whatever cloud service you have. So, I mean, we haven't even scratched the surface. We just, you know,
Oh my.
touching what you can and get the I'm not gonna say the important stuff because it's all important, but the things that people most use. Wouldn't that be fair to say, Matt?
Yeah, and I think probably another way to look at it is that to me email tends to be a bit more um I think
Letter
it's
writing?
probably well, yeah, I think you might send longer things. You certainly can in at least iMessages, but
Yeah.
I think when you're doing email, it's more formal, it's more official. Certainly companies and so forth are going to communicate that way. Although
I was
colleagues
gonna
may
say
communicate.
because you can use a subject line but actually in messages you can actually turn on the
Yeah,
subject line if you
yeah,
so
you can.
chose.
There's so much crossover because of how capable these devices are. You know what I mean? At one point, it was easier to say, well, texting is, family and friends, and email is professional. But that's no longer necessarily the case because you can do formal texting with people if you choose to, and colleagues may do that, or you can. But I also think sometimes you still find maybe some people don't text very often, and some people like to receive things by email, and there's just a lot of factors that go into this, an appearance of formality, or at least more official nature with email. Whether or not that's really deserved anymore is open to question. But also, as Cliff said, the instant nature of messages. Um, Although if everybody has their iPhones and their notifications set up, you can do that with mail too. So, there's a lot of crossover.
Could you please talk a little bit more about syncing your iPad, say, with your iPhone? Because I don't think mine are synced. Do you just go into your name when you go into the settings, or how do you do it
No,
exactly?
it's a little more intuitive than that, but it's pretty easy. You go into
Yeah,
settings, you go down
Mm-hmm.
to messages, and you swipe past, where it says iMessages on and how many addresses you have, and it'll say um receive text message on other devices, and it'll tell you. For me,
Oh,
it will be one because I have my Mac. If you have an iPad, and this has to be done on your phone, you can't do it on your iPad. You have to set it up
oh,
on your phone. So
okay.
you have to let your iPad know that you want it to send messages for your phone when you're not on your phone. If they're not iMessages, if they're iMessages, they're going to show up. But if it's coming from an Android or somebody that's using a third party texting app, then yes, it has to be set up on
right.
your phone and you have to give it permission. And 9 times out of 10, if it's not set up, all you got to do is go in there and check your iPad's name and it'll start sending and
That's right.
receiving messages from
That's
it.
right. So there are two components to this. There is the syncing of messages over iCloud, which stores the messages in iCloud. When you delete from one, it deletes from the other. When that is done by going into your name on the iPad. You can go to
Uh,
settings, your name, and
oh,
then
okay.
iCloud, and then messages, and make sure that's turned on. You would want to do that on all of your devices, not just your iPad. And then the part that Cliff is talking about is allowing you to get these non-iMessages on your iPad. It's called text forwarding or SMS forwarding. And as Cliff said, I think it just says like receive messages on other devices or something. But you have to do that part from your phone, settings and messages, and then it'll have your devices listed, and they'll either be on or off. It'll have
Okay.
um, the number of devices is based on what's turned
And
on.
depending on your carrier too, Matt, you can also get those actual cell calls from that other platform on your iPad if you're on
Oh,
Wi-Fi,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
My question is, when I send messages through my message app, the recipients say they don't see my name. They only notice the phone number. Is there a way where I can set it so they know that it's coming from me via my name?
That's
Well,
actually going to have to be on their
On
side.
their
Now,
side.
is
Side,
it
okay.
now? Is this an iMessage or just a text message?
Both.
Okay, yeah, they're gonna have to set
yeah,
up. They're gonna have to
the
create a contact on their end with your name and number. So when you text them, it's your name that shows up, not your phone number.
now there
Okay.
is for the non for excuse me, for the Apple users you're sending to, you do have the option to share your name and photo with them. Once that's set up, you can go um into the conversation, and there's an option right at the top of the conversation that says share name and photo. So you can actually do that when you are using it with an iMessage user if they don't have a contact for you. But that has to be set up ahead of time too.
In a previous class, you had mentioned that you can assign a tone per person, like when they're texting. In other words, if my wife is texting me, can I receive a different tone from everyone
Yes.
else from her?
Oh, yes,
yeah.
absolutely. Yes.
You haven't
Yes.
covered that, so I wanted to see if you can explain that.
Sure. So when you create a new contact, or if you go into an existing contact, so we're talking about in the contacts app, or if you are using your iPhone, you can use the phone app in the contacts tab. And you're either going to create a new contact, or you're going to, open up an existing contact and then tap on edit. As you scroll down through the fields in that contact where it has, first name, last name, all these different things, there is an option under there called ringtone and another one called text tone. And that's where you would specify what kind of tone you want for that person, if it's going to be different from the default. And that's also where you can turn on a feature called emergency bypass. So people that are really, important to you, your kids, maybe an elderly parent, maybe your alarm monitoring company, if you have a security system, they can always get through to you if you turn on emergency bypass, no matter what. And the only exceptions would be if your phone were off or in airplane mode. But any other time, I mean, even if you have do not disturb on, sleep mode on, silent switch, it doesn't matter. It's going to ring and vibrate your phone anyway if that contact gets a hold of you. And you can do that for both the text tone and the ringtone. So you have choices there for that too.
And
No
since
problem.
we're talking
Thank you.
about assigning different ringtones and text tones, Matt mentioned in the last class that you can do that for email accounts, and yes, you most certainly can. Not only can you do it for different email accounts, you can actually, well, iCloud anyway. I'm not going to talk about Gmail, but iCloud, you can actually specify, if you have custom folders like I do, you can actually specify what folders you want to get notifications from when mail comes in. So I have a folder called bills and another one called domain tasks, where all my custom domain mail goes, and I have those two folders on push notification. I have another folder called Apple Everything. That folder's turned off because that's where all my groups.io stuff go, and I don't want my mail going off all day every day. So that one's actually turned off. So just a little teaser in there. You can set your custom, you can have custom sounds for each email account that you have, and for iCloud at least, and I think you can do it for Gmail. I don't use it, so I can't specify, but I think you can do it for Gmail. You can select what folders you want to get notification or sounds from when mail comes into them.
Thanks everybody for attending. See you tomorrow if you're coming to Tuesdays, and Wednesday for class. Take care.
Thanks for joining today's session. Didn't get your question answered? Want paid one-on-one training? Email us at support@ttjtech.biz or support@stiritup.com. And remember, stir is spelled with a U. That's STURITUP.com. I'm Trainer Cliff. Thanks for joining us. God bless. See you next time.